Tonight we welcome you to Tropicana Field. The homestand continues for the Rays. It's a six-gamer, and the Rays have taken 2 out of 3 to start this one. Tonight they'll open a 3-game series against the Toronto Blue Jays. With the latest 2 wins over the Mariners in the Seattle series, the Rays have moved to within 2 games of the Boston Red Sox, and they've taken over the lead in the wild card spot. Hi again, everyone. Welcome to an evening of Rays baseball. Dwayne Stats with Brian Anderson. Todd Callis along in just a moment. Well, the Rays will see the Toronto Blue Jays tonight, who just finished taking 2 out of 3 from the Boston Red Sox, by the way. And R.A. Dickey, last year's National League Cy Young Award winner, will be on the hill. Hasn't been quite the same season this year in a Blue Jay uniform for him, but he has been tough against the Rays.
Big picture, to put it mildly, the knuckleball of R.A. Dickey has not been kind to the Tampa Bay Rays. You see the numbers that spell that out over his last 5 starts. 3-1 record, the ERA sterling 1.89, that opponent's average minuscule. A couple of complete games, shutouts along the way. I will say this, though, that one loss was his last time out against the Rays. That was July the 21st. They dinged him up for 4 runs in that game to get the win. They hit 3 home runs off of him. So what they want to do, like they have every other time, try to see that ball high, get a couple flat ones, and put a good swing on it.
On the hill tonight for the Rays, Jeremy Hellickson, a 10-game winner, but the last 3 have not been kind to Jeremy Hellickson. He's had issues with command and quality strikes.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. Too many base runners, too. Far too many base runners, too many chances for the opposition. But what you hope is that the Toronto Blue Jays provide that opportunity to get back on the right path, because he has thrown the ball extremely well against them this year, and for his career for that matter. But this year, that 186 average has been outstanding, and you figure that this is one of those aggressive lineups where the changeup is going to play a prominent role to go along with that curveball, but fastball command is where it's going to start, and he has had that against this team in those 4 starts.
Last night, the Rays posted a 7-1 win over Seattle, and they got multiple RBI performances from both Evan Longoria and Will Myers. That's a combination they'd like to see more of. It's the first time it's happened this year. Todd Callis explores that idea when we return.
Rays and the Toronto Blue Jays, with Will Myers hitting fourth tonight behind Evan Longoria in the 3 spot. Yesterday, they were flipped with Evan hitting behind Will Myers as Will was the number 2 hitter. It's worked out, the little combination there between Will Myers and Evan Longoria. If they get hot together at the same time, it could be great things in the future for the Tampa Bay Rays. Our Toyota Trend will show you that beginning on Wednesday night, Evan Longoria walked twice and then hit 2 doubles, and Will Myers followed him up with his home run for Will, broke an 0 for 15 streak. And then they kind of flipped roles last night, where Will hit a couple of doubles along with a single, drove in 4 runs, and Evan hit the home run for Evan, number 23 on the year. We caught up with both guys after the game last night and asked them about being hot at the same time.
He's been kind of the catalyst for the team. I mean, he's been so good offensively that it's made it easier on all of us, I think. And so if the both of us can continue to swing the bats well, hopefully that propels the rest of the lineup to get on track.
When both of us are swinging the bat well, it's going to be good things to come. I was just talking to Nelly about that just a second ago. If, one of us can get high, we're going to win. But if both of us can get going, we're going to be trouble.
So there you go. Will Myers on the rail. Evan Longoria having a seat on the bench. Will's going to be the DH for the second consecutive night, and it'll be Jeremy Hellickson on the mound for the Rays. He'll be opposed by R.A. Dickey. It's the Rays and the Blue Jays, first of 3. Enjoy all the action next, right here on Sun Sports.
Right-hander Alex Cobb last night helped the Rays begin a winning streak. But a word to the cautious. The Blue Jays just took 2 out of 3 from the Red Sox and traveled plenty of thunder. But with their bats buzzing, rookie sensation Will Myers and Evan Longoria look to power the Rays to their 3rd consecutive win. Evan Longoria and the Rays coming off a victory last night, including Evan's 23rd home run of the year. 7-1 over Seattle, and tonight they'll square off against the Toronto Blue Jays to begin this 3-game series. Lineup brought to you by Sweet Bay Supermarket. Toronto will have Jose Reyes leading off, followed by Mysier Stewart, and then Jose Bautista. The cleanup hitter is Edwin Encarnacion. The DH, Adam Lynn. Brett Laurie at 3rd, hitting 6th. Josh Tolley will do the catching. Kevin Pillar is in left, hitting 8th. Anthony Gose up from the minor leagues, and he is in there in center field.
Well, taking the mound tonight for the Tampa Bay Rays, going to be right-hander Jeremy Hellickson, making his 25th start of the season. These numbers brought to you by Coventry Healthcare of Florida. And for Jeremy, looking to get back on the winning track. He has dropped his last 3 decisions, but we've seen this before from Jeremy. Go through a little bit of a rough patch only to break out of it and get on quite a run for quite a while. And all hoping that that is going to happen tonight here against the Toronto Blue Jays, a team that he's had a tremendous amount of success against. And let's take a quick look at the defense as it lines up behind Jeremy tonight. In the outfield, left to right, Johnson, Fold, and Joyce. Across the infield, third to first, Longoria, Escobar, Zobrist, and Loney. Jose Lobatone will be behind the plate.
There's Joe Madden, the Rays skipper. Well, we invited the reptile into the clubhouse last night. That seemed to work well. The Rays responded with an 11-hit attack and a 7-1 win. Asia, the 20-foot python, residing in the clubhouse pregame. And across the diamond, John Gibbons in his second tour of duty as the manager of the Toronto Blue Jays. Spent some time there from 04 to 08. And his club comes in 56 and 65. All set to play baseball. Jose Reyes in the batter's box. And the first pitch of this game presented by Pinch a Penny, and Reyes takes it for a strike. So we're underway. Fastball from Hellickson to start things this evening. One ball, one strike. Reyes, Historis, and then Bautista against Hellickson.
A lot of power on this team, second in the American League in home runs, and you want to keep this guy off base.
Ground ball for Zobrist, and that will keep him off the bases. Reyes grounds out, second to first.
Yeah, he's such a tremendous base stealer, just a real pain out there on the base paths for an opposing defense, specifically the pitcher. So you want these big power guys coming up with him on the bench.
It'll be Maicer Historis, switch hitting infielder, playing second base. This pitch is a strike. You know, the Blue Jays got off to a difficult start. They had a lot of injuries early. With all the deals they made, trying to mesh a lot of talent together. Breaking ball for a strike. Ball in there. It's 0-2. Then they got hot. They reeled off that 11-game winning streak. But since then, they have gone 17 and 29. And that got Historis on the foot. Another breaking ball. And you couldn't blame Hellickson if he's thinking, here we go again, after what he's gone through in the last 3 starts.
Well, it has been just a tremendous amount of base runners. And this one, he'll start out with one right here with this breaking ball down and in, bounces, catches that front foot, and that's what's hurt him. I mean, his last 3 starts, he's lasted just a total of 12 innings. And do the math on that.
He's given up 13 runs and 19 hits in those 12 innings.
26 base runners. Just too many chances.
Here's Jose Bautista. The pitch is a strike. Bautista owns 3 career home runs off Hellickson. It is 8 out of 21. So that's frustrating. You get the first out. You get 2 strikes on Historis. And then he's hit on the foot by a curveball. Then you get to face this guy. It's in a bit. It's 1-1. Greg Gibson calling the balls and strikes. 14 plus years out of the University of Kentucky. 2. Foul that fastball back.
Well, you know, admittedly, Jeremy Hellickson said during this recent rough patch, he said, listen, my command is just not where it needs to be. And we go back a ways. And remember, you know, Joe Madden, Jim Hickey had told Jeremy Hellickson what they wanted from him more than anything else is fastball down. You can get it from corner to corner, great, but down is most important. Well, during that really good stretch, he was getting it down and to the corners. Tonight, you go back to being down. That is the focus.
Oh, a cut and a miss on a 1-2 curveball. A dandy right there. Bautista, a chopping swing at the curveball.
Just completely fooled. You can see this pitch they started in. That ball was started almost on the inside corner, broke it to the outer third. And you can see right there, Jose Bautista completely fooled. You do not see that swing from him very often.
2 gone. Well, there's another powerful hitter, Edwin Encarnacion. He's 3rd in the league in home runs. He's hit 30. Bautista before him was 4th with 27. And here comes Encarnacion. 30 home runs and 89 runs batted in.
I think another way that Jeremy can exploit this offense is, you know, very home runs are prevalent with this ball club. They've only hit 1 in the last 5 games, so they may even be more antsy than ever.
It's a strike, 1-1.
These guys are used to hitting the long ball, and when you go through a dry spell like that, guys start to say, okay, I'll be the one to do it, and you take an aggressive team, even make them uber aggressive. That's where an arsenal like Jeremy Hellickson can play very nicely.
Two balls and a strike. Rays have gone 8-5 against Toronto this year. Line drive, going to be a base hit into left. Kelly Johnson with the pickup. Stewart advances to second on Encarnacion's single.
Well, Encarnacion got a nice pitch to hit. You just feel fortunate to see where this pitch is. Middle. Be thankful that's just a single and move on.
Two men on with 2 men out in the first. Now the hitter will be the designated hitter, Adam Lind. Strike. Field pulled around, not shifted. Not an out-and-out shift, but they are pulled around to the right side with runners at first and second. Escobar toward the middle, but still on the shortstop side of second. So there's a couple of steps into the outfield, shaded toward the hole. It's 1-1. 26-year-old right-hander Hellickson in his 3rd full year. And he has landed out front. Change up to the left-handed hitter. 1-2.
Such an effective pitch. You know, you're quick to the plate and you come up with the changeup right here. That's not exactly the location you may want on that particular pitch, but arm speed, most important thing.
In with the fastball. That one hitting 92. It's about the top of the velocity meter for Hellickson at 92.
And that's why he needs to be able to command it, because you're right, he'll hit that a few times a game, but a lot of 90, 91s. That was a good purpose pitch, though. 2-2 count now. This is your action pitch. You want something to happen here. Should have the whole outer half to work with. And down.
2-2. Line drive, base hit through the hole on the right side. Here comes Asturis in to score. Encarnacion will go to third. And the Blue Jays take a 1-0 lead.
Well, Jeremy moves some feet with the fastball, comes back with the changeup, and a nice adjustment made by Adam Lynn, because this ball comes back middle in down right into the swing path. He had swung through one in a similar spot, not this one.
So the hit batter, Asturis, hit on the 0-2 pitch on the foot, and that will cost the Rays a run ultimately. Now first and third. Brent Lawrie up here. He's been hot late. Average over 300 with men in scoring position and over 350 for the year. He was barely hitting over 200 at the All-Star break. But 333 since then to get his average to 255.
He was back, I mean, on July 22nd, he was at 199.
Change up, 1-1.
And we saw Brent Lawrie when he was struggling, and just a lot of movement up at the plate, a lot of movement with the hands, the head, the body.
Well, his approach to the game is hyper to begin with.
No question about it. I mean, he's got energy to spare.
Lines it up the left field side. That's foul. So 1 ball, 2 strike count. For 20 pitches for Hellickson in the inning. Been a roller coaster year for the Rays right-hander.
And I think that will be something that Jeremy Hellickson, as he's learning right now throughout his career, he has the arsenal. The changeup's excellent, one of the best you'll see, the Bugs Bunny variety. He's got a good curveball, and he's got enough on his fastball. It's going to come down to, can you put it where you want it? He keeps saying this. Mechanically, he's so simple. That should be something that he's able to do over time.
Yeah, he just picks up that leg and delivers.
Yeah, I mean, you see some of these guys, they've got the windup, the arms over the head, the high leg kick, they're arching back, and everything has to be perfectly in sync for them to have consistent command. Where Jeremy, he just stands up there nice and tall, picks the leg up, hand comes out of the glove, delivers the ball to the plate. Those mechanics are set up for fastball command and then some. As long as he stays linear to home plate.
Fouled again, out of play, third base side.
There are times where Jeremy will kind of walk off the baseball a little bit. That body will start to fade just a little bit towards the first base line, and he'll either pull that fastball with him or something will fade back over the plate. But with those mechanics, if he's keeping that front shoulder buried into that catcher's mitt, he should be able to spot up just about anywhere.
Fly ball into left. The off-speed pitch, and Johnson makes the catch. Blue Jays score a run. The Rays are coming in to hit, down 1-0. Batter into a run on an RBI single by Adam Lynn. Rays coming in to hit in the bottom of the first. The lineup brought to you by Sweet Face Supermarket. Ben Zobrist, Matt Joyce, and Evan Longoria, the top three hitters. Will Myers, the DH, with James Loney, followed by Kelly Johnson. Yunel Escobar, Jose Lobaton, and Sam Bold rounding out Joe Maddon's lineup.
Well, taking the mound tonight for the Toronto Blue Jays is going to be knuckleballer, right-hander R.A. Dickey. His season numbers brought to you by Coventry Healthcare of Florida. Not been the season that the Blue Jays envisioned when bringing R.A. Dickey over. However, he has been very difficult on the Tampa Bay Rays.
First pitch, and Zobrist bounce had been against the right-handed knuckleballer, hitting right-handed.
You almost wonder, number one, does he feel more comfortable from that side of the plate, or because he's normally a left-handed hitter against the righties, doesn't want to screw the swing up against some knuckleballer? Just play this like a softball game.
Well, both could make sense.
Yeah.
You're always concerned about that. I thought about that. You know, here's Evan Longoria getting hot again after a tough stretch. You go, really, you have to face this guy now?
Yeah. Oh, I've played on plenty of teams, Dwayne, where your top hitters, your big power hitter, a certain guy in the lineup is not going to play against a knuckleballer because they don't want the swing to potentially get screwed up. That may have been old school thinking. That's how it used to be done.
It's a strike, and it's 2-2. Well, let's hope that there's more technology to break down all of those swings and have it not affect a hitter who's starting to get hot. Ground ball to third. Laurie makes the throw to first. One away.
Let's take a look at the Blue Jay defense as it lines up from left to right. Pilar, Gose, and Bautista in the outfield. Across the infield, third to first. Laurie, Reyes is Torres, and Encarnacion. Josh Tolley will handle the catching duties.
You face one of these guys, just a quick trip back to watch a little video of your swing, get it back in sync, and then go on.
That's
Let's
it.
hope that works.
Yeah.
Matt Joyce cutting the miss.
And that's right there what you do. You see one of those knuckleballs that are staying up in the strike zone, you just take a rip at it. Take an absolute rip at it. You see him starting to float low. You figure it's going to bottom out at some point, so you try to stay away from those.
Joyce down in the count. 0-2. Soft liner, one hopper to short. Grabbed by Reyes, and he hops it into first, and Joyce is out of there. 6-3.
I'll tell you what, that was a very nice play by Jose Reyes, because he was not going to be able to get to that soft little flutterer. And watch him spike this on purpose. He throws this ball into the ground on purpose just to get it over there. Didn't want to risk fluttering that ball over to first base, so just spike it in the ground. You got the turf, the dirt. It's going to get a true hop. And a nice scoop by Encarnacion in the second hop.
I remember when AstroTurf was becoming so prevalent, and shortstops like David Concepcion engineered the idea of that one or two hop throw across the diamond to first to get it there.
And they would skip it off that. I mean, like a rock skimming off the top of a pond. And I mean, it would get on you in a hurry. You just watch those old films, and that ball jumps.
Well, they're not that old, those films. 1-0 the count.
Well, they're films. There's true film. There's no video. You may be able to put it on video now, but it's film.
Actually, it was tape. Videotape.
I think it was film.
High fly ball the other way to right. Bautista back a few steps, and he makes the catch. So it's a 1-2-3 inning. We'll go review the films and be back here for the second. AP, brought to you by Coventry Healthcare of Florida. One-run ball game here. The Blue Jays picking up a run in the first. Josh Tolley, their catcher, will open the second inning. Which is outside from Hellickson. Tolley getting the job of catching the knuckleballer, R.A. Dickey. Two and 0 the count. Fly ball for Kelly Johnson in left. Away. Bring up the number 8 hitter, the left fielder Kevin Pillar. Pillar in a couple of games since his promotion from the minor leagues, 0 for 7. 307 in the minors this year with 9 home runs. Jeremy's first pitch is too close.
Going to be important too for Jeremy Hellickson to control this portion of the lineup, the bottom third. I want to let this offense get rolling as it crosses over to the top. And in fact, if you go to the next guy between Ghost and then over to Reyes, is Torres, you've got 3 straight hitters with a tremendous amount of speed before you get to the power in the middle of the lineup. And that's where the Blue Jays like to wrap that lineup around. 3 speed guys in a row. Try to make something happen.
Pillar can certainly run, and he can put the bat on the ball as well. He's made a quick ascent because of injuries. He's up here, but they like his talent a lot. He split last year. In fact, spent part of the year playing here in Dunedin last year. Into center field, Sam Bold is right there, and he makes the catch. 2 gone. Just a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, to look forward to Miller Time later in tonight's game. Brought to you by Miller Lite.
You certainly think at this point, with the Blue Jays seemingly looking like they're out of it, you're going to see some guys get some opportunities. They've got to figure out what they have moving forward and the direction that they want to go in to be able to compete in this very tough American League East. Thought they were going to do that this year with the big, the big trade, the big signings this offseason. That has not worked out, so you've kind of retool a little bit.
It's been a frustrating year for John Gibbons and the Blue Jays brass.
This was a team
quick strikes.
Was so highly thought of before spring training even started. They were crowned. They're going to be the champs, going to be the American League representative in the World Series, and it just never got on track. It stumbled right out of the gate for a myriad of reasons and never could sustain any length of success at all.
Ball 2 strikes the count.
But it's still one of those teams, and you look at the roster on any given night.
That's right.
They can jump up and get you in a big way. Ask the Red Sox.
With Bautista in the middle of the lineup, Encarnacion. Cut the miss. Goes out on strikes. 1, 2, 3. Go the Blue Jays. 1-0 Toronto. Fourth. Who's set to lead off against R.A. Dickey. First pitch hit on the ground to Reyes. One pitch and one out. The last time the Rays faced R.A. Dickey, they beat him 4-3, and they used 3 home runs to do it. Take a look at that marquee matchup. Evan Longoria hit a home run in the 4th inning of that game, and then Luke Scott hit a 2-run homer in the 6th, and Kelly Johnson followed. Hit the very next pitch out to right field. The Rays had 4 runs, 7 hits, 3 of those home runs off R.A. Dickey in 6 innings. Anzalone saw it low and let it go. Ball 1.
I believe that later that night, Dwayne, was when my phone went missing.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
You should have, just for fun, kept tracking that phone.
Well, that Sunday I got to watch it drive all over the streets of Toronto. It was a little frustrating. Hit the delete button on the way out of the country.
It was a good idea. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Loney. R.A. Dickey, 38-year-old right-hander. It's fouled back. Only 4 of 19 against the knuckleballer. It's a unique life, the life of a knuckleball pitcher out there, isn't it?
And it's got to be extremely difficult. Pitching coach and a manager, I mean, what do you say to him? Look at that. Well, and here's the deal, too, and you just saw it on those back-to-back knucklers to Loney. This is one of the guys that will change speeds, but at a wide swath. Look at the finish on that pitch, the swing by Loney. You very rarely get Loney this far off balance in any kind of a swing. That pitch will do it to you.
Yeah, you very seldom, if ever, hear any talk about a knuckleball pitcher with command of that pitch.
Yep.
And the ability to change speeds, but that's one of the things that he's done.
And that's one of the things that had made him so successful last year, was how hard he was able to throw that pitch. Probably the hardest the game's ever seen. And you just saw the last 2, the first one of the 2 in the sequence, 79 down to 67. Huge difference in that same pitch. And if you're a manager, you just sit back. You know, you're John Gibbons, and I'll take care of the offense tonight. Just let this ball move around, do its thing.
That's it. Really, the only strategy that anybody seems to employ in regard to the knuckleball is, you know, if it's high, let it fly, and if it's low, let it go.
Yeah.
That's about as sophisticated as you get when it comes to strategy. And you're right, if you're the manager or the pitching coach, you're just along for the ride.
Where are you going to take me tonight, R.A.?
And strike 3 call. That's a 1-2-3 inning. Dickey is retired the first 6. 1-0 Toronto. Sports is brought to you by Just for Men Mustache and Beard, Toyota, Let's Go Places, Coventry Healthcare, coverage so you can keep living the life you want. Go live. We've got you covered. And by Checkers. Feast on. Sunset over the Gulf here in the beautiful Tampa Bay area. We go to the third here inside Tropicana Field, top of the order. Jose Reyes for the Blue Jays. Takes the pitch down, shortened on the bat, and that brought Evan Longoria in a couple more steps at third base. Reyes, a dynamic talent. The Mets, briefly with the Marlins, now with the Blue Jays. 2-0. They missed his presence. He was part of the injury brigade with the ankle injury that cost him a good part of April and all of May and almost all of June. Doing one.
There's so much to account for with him. You know, first of all, he's a switch hitter with speed, handles the bat well, occasional power. You saw that he has 9 home runs this year. Good defense out at shortstop.
Down to short. Escobar throws him out, keeps him off the bases to start the inning. That's important.
Yeah, that will make life so much easier for Jeremy Hellickson. And Jeremy does a nice job of controlling the running game. But it's not even always about the running game. It's the threat of the running game. It's what they're able to do with him out there on first base. They can put him in motion. Jeremy's, for the most part, is a strike thrower. He's not going to overpower you. So you get Myceres Tourist can handle the bat. You can do some hit and run action. Just a lot at your disposal when he's on base.
Sturis, the difference in the game here in the early stages, was hit on the foot by an 0-2 pitch in the first, and eventually driven home by Adam Lind, who came up with a 2-out base hit. One strike to count to the Toronto second baseman. 1-1. There's a base hit into center. Sturis is on again. One out base hit. Bautista on his way to the plate. Victoria Justice, star of the hit Nickelodeon show Victorious, makes her way to Tropicana Field coming up this Sunday. The Rays will look to become victorious themselves when they take on the Blue Jays, and afterwards Victoria Justice takes the stage to perform all of her top hits. For tickets, visit raysbaseball.com/concerts. Jose Bautista. Well, you're nervous every time this guy comes up, especially with men on base.
Well, Bautista gets right up on top of the plate. He's got tremendous coverage. We've seen him go out and get balls off the plate away to pull them to left center with extreme power. High hands, trying to drive down through the baseball.
And there's one back into left. Johnson to the track, reaching up in front of the wall to make the catch. Bautista drove it into left, and Johnson enough reach to come up with that catch.
Just didn't quite get all of it. This ball, they come in on him a little bit, and he hits a hard liner right here, gets down. Jose Bautista, when he catches those clean, it's going to just continue to rise out of the park. This one not quite as much, and Kelly Johnson able to go back and make a nice play as he leaves his feet.
There's Edwin Encarnacion. Singled his first time. High popper. Out from short. This is Zobrist. They had the shift on, and Zobrist from his second base spot made the catch in shallow left. Fox Sports 1 will be your home for live sports. Shows like Crowd Goes Wild, Fox Football Daily, and Fox Sports Live. The news and highlight show fans have been waiting for. America's new sports network, Fox Sports 1, premieres tomorrow. Yunel Escobar will begin the bottom of the third for the Rays. Blue Jays scored in the first. Adam Lynn's single drove in Myceres Stewart. R.A. Dickey has retired the first 6 hitters he has faced. And Escobar takes one too low. Escobar hitting an even 300 since the All-Star break. 260 for the year.
How about this, Dwayne? He's hitting since April 17th. He's hitting 283. That's when his average was 089.
Yep.
And then those first 2 weeks of the season, I mean, really, it cost him a 280, 285 average. You start to combine that, and even how he's been able to come back. You talked about that 300 average since the break, but the way that he's been able to come back offensively to go along with what he's done defensively, complete package.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Yeah, he's been great at shortstop. I mean, really great at shortstop.
Yeah.
And you get a shortstop with this kind of offense, that's a major plus. There's a liner into right center field. That's going to be in there for extra bases, cut off by Ghost. Now it's bobbled, and around second goes Escobar, heading to third, and he's in there. Escobar all the way to third. Ghost set to cut it off and could not do so cleanly. It's going to be a triple all the way.
Well, Escobar did a nice job, number one, of cutting down on his swing, and you see him take that peek out there. See that ball get away from Ghost, and he's just going to continue running. That ball had a long way to travel to get to third base. Escobar realized it, and he gets in.
It's his first triple of the year. Lobatone. Zay takes a pitch upstairs. High drive, base hit. This game is tied. Jose Lobatone drives in Escobar. That didn't take long. Catch it high, let it fly.
Well, that's exactly right. Escobar, a nice easy swing goes the other way, and then Lobaton. This pitch, it does stay up, out over the plate, and that's all you want because Lobaton, he's just thinking, get the barrel to the baseball, get it into the outfield somewhere to drive that run home. A base hit makes it all the better.
So the bottom of the order producing the first run for the Rays, and now here's Sam Fuld. Sam attempts the bunt and fouls it. It's out of play for a strike. Sam down in that ninth spot and away, serving as a leadoff guy down there. Foul back, and the count is 0-2. Sam in limited play this year has one bunt hit, attempting to bunt on the first pitch in this at bat. Desmond Jennings, who the Rays hope will be back maybe early next week, leads the team with 4 bunt hits. It's a foul ball at the feet of Sam Fuld.
Now that's something relatively new for Desmond Jennings. I mean, this is a guy where that will play very, very well. It's just another way to get him on base, which is the key. You know, if he's going to hit leadoff, you know, batting average is nice. You'd like to have a high batting average, but on base percentage even more important for that position. And it's just another way to increase that number.
Fuld out on strikes with the first out and the third. Well, that would be a very important part of the game, and something as far back as the spring Joe Maddon emphasized with Jennings, and the more and more that develops, the better it's going to be for him in that leadoff spot with that great speed. The two best bunters, as it turns out, in terms of numbers behind Jennings this year, would be Joyce and Scott, and that's because of the shift.
Yeah.
They've taken advantage of that a couple times. They each have 3 bunts. But when you get serious about the straight bunt and reaching base, that could be a big part of Desmond's game, and he has 4 of those so far this year. And Zobrist lifts a high infield pop. In from first, Encarnacion, and he makes the catch.
And I love the way that he'll use it too, because what he does is he'll come up to hit. You know, if there's a runaround or not, depending on where the first baseman is over there, he'll see that second baseman playing back, maybe a double play depth, maybe at his normal position. And his idea of is, if I can get out there and push this bunt hard enough past the pitcher towards that second baseman, away from the first baseman, there is nobody going to beat me to first base. And when he does that, that pitcher, if he doesn't get to that ball right off the bat, forget about it. It's going to be a base hit every time.
Joyce goes after the first pitch and lifts a popper. The shortstop Reyes, and shallow left handles that one. So the Rays are out in the third, but they pick up a run on a triple by Escobar, and the RBI single by Jose Lobaton. a look at Alex Cobb, who was so good last night. Gave the Rays 5 innings. A return to the mound for the first time in exactly 2 months. And he picks up the win.
It was awfully nice to see Alex back out there. You kind of wondered what he was going to have command-wise. Well, I'll tell you what, overall, he was very, very good. Moving the fastball around, the curveball, the changeup. Made one mistake to Raul Ibanez, but other than that, 5 strong innings, 3 hits, an earned run, and picks up a win. Great return for number 53.
Adam Lynn leads off. Takes a curveball outside. 1 ball and no strikes. Well, you figured one thing you would get out of Alex Cobb last night. A great effort. A very competitive effort. That's what he does. 2-0, and you know how happy he was to get back. Rays limited him to 90 pitches. He had 88 through 5. Ran into a bases loaded situation with 2 outs in the 5th. And made a 33 pitch inning out of that. 2-1. Otherwise, he was on his way to giving them at least 6. This pitch count going into that inning was pretty good. It turned out that Dustin Ackley lined a double that was fouled, but just foul was called fair. And after that, the inning really got extended on him.
How about the way it ended? How about the way that he went bases loaded? He gets up in the count 1-2, throws not a very good split, ball 2, throws another one, ball 3, and facing the opportunity or the chance that he may walk a run in, comes back with a 3-2 split, and that may have been his best of the entire outing to pick up the strikeout, get out of that inning, and then the Rays put up 4 runs in about 4 minutes.
Yeah, that was the best change-up split that he threw in the whole game to end that threat. And Alex afterwards obviously elated with his effort and the way everything turned out. We'll be hearing more from Alex.
It was awesome. It's a feeling you can't duplicate anywhere else but being out on the mound and competing at the big league level. It was definitely a great experience to have gone through everything I went to, and then to be able to come back out here and get a win was really nice. I really wanted to be back to normal. I want to stop talking about it. I want to stop, getting attention for anything other than what's going on in the field. And I think that we can do that now that this game is past us.
And Brent Laurie is just single up the middle on a fastball. First and second now with Lind aboard ahead of Laurie. And the Blue Jays put up a threat in the 4th inning. Alex Cobb was tired of anticipating his return, tired of talking about it, just going out there and doing it. And that had to be the most rewarding part of the night for Alex Cobb, just to get out there and pitch.
He's such an unassuming guy. Doesn't want to bring attention to himself, and just enjoys doing his job and doing it well.
Schulte shows the bunt. That pitch is in there. Curveball to start him for a strike. Bunts foul. 2.
He kept that fair. It might have been a double up the line. He can take the bunt off now.
Singles by Lind and Laurie. First and second with no outs. Five hits collected by Toronto. play. Given his own pacing, Hellickson will be delivered out there, and you put men on base, and it slows down even more.
He definitely takes his time thinking through each and every pitch, just slowing the game down. More so to try to affect the rhythm of the opposing hitter, the opposing team.
Just a bit in for the fastball. 1-2.
You know, and everybody's got a different philosophy. You know, I'm of the mindset, and I know you are too. A lot of guys that pitch just missed. That was a nice shot there by Jeremy with that fastball in, but working quickly when you know what you want to do, get up there and just execute it. But
yeah, I really think the pitcher takes the offensive that way and has a chance to put the hitter back on his heels, figuratively speaking.
Well, and talk to the and you know what, it keeps your fielders from sinking into their heels. You know, any position player will tell you that they love playing behind a guy who works quickly, uses defense, put the ball in play, keeps them into the game. They understand that, you know, there's a fast pace to this, and you've got to be on your toes ready to make a play.
Zobrist, Escobar 1, Loney 2, 4-6-3 on the double play with Lynn going to third.
Understand who's running, and you make this play. Zobrist gets the ball quickly to Escobar, but watch Escobar take his time to clear second base before throwing it to Loney. Right there. He knows he's got time, doesn't have to rush anything. Clear second base, clear the base runner Laurie, and now make a strong throw. That's well done, and that's just being aware of who's hitting, who's on base, what you need to do to get a play made.
So nicely done to turn the double play. It's Kevin Pillar.
Okay.
First pitch strike to Pillar. Pillar at Dunedin last year played 42 games, hit 323. I feel like it was at 322 in Lansing. Quickly down in the count, 0-2. In on him, and he pops him up. Foul ball. Lobatone after it. He's got it. That'll retire the side. 2 base hits to open the inning. Blue Jays do not score. This game tied 1-1.
Special guest with us, Afida DeVries. She is the Chief Development Officer for United Way Suncoast. Afida, this has been a big year for you guys with the regionalization of United Way Tampa, along with Sarasota and DeSoto counties. Tell us about what is going on with the United Way Suncoast.
Well, it's been a really exciting year for us, Todd. It's been a far smoother transition than any of us had a right to hope for. And now we're at a point in our process of working together where we can take the vision of a broader region and being able to help more people and take it to scale and bring it to fruition. So this year, people in Tampa Bay are going to be hearing a lot about, seeing a lot about early literacy and what it means for stability, what it means for the economic future of this region, and how important and vital it is. When you think of United Way, you're going to be thinking early literacy this year.
I like that, and you always have played a vital role in the success of the Tampa Bay community, especially with helping families out, becoming more stable. What can you tell us about that and how United Way has helped?
Well, we know that kids who enter school unprepared are not going to go on to lead the best possible life they have. But we also know that if children don't go to school fed, if their home life isn't stable, they're unlikely to be as successful as we want them to be. So it's also important for United Way to provide supports to families and adults. We focus a great deal of our work around making sure that families have income stabilities, making sure that moms and dads have the education they need to get the jobs that they want so that they can support their families. Stable home means stable education for a child, and that is what it means to have a better community and to give children a brighter future.
Evan Longoria grounds out to short to start the inning. UnitedWaySuncoast.org for more information. Finally, the Rays and United Way Suncoast. What a partnership. What can you tell us about what the Rays have done with you?
You know what? The Rays are, without question, one of the best examples of what it means to be a corporate philanthropist, particularly in this market. The Rays partner with United Way because they know that doing the right thing is what's most important. It's not about the notoriety or the recognition. United Way is working in this stadium's backyard to help kids get to school on time and get there prepared to learn. And in these next couple of weeks, they're partnering with United Way to do a promotion. Right now, anybody who goes online and gives a gift of $30 or more, $30 or more to United Way gets themselves a free pair of tickets to the game on the 28th. So anybody who's willing to do that, please join us. Go Rays.
There you go. August 28th, Afida DeVries. Thank you very much, as always, for joining. Guys, back to you.
All right, Todd, thank you. One out here in the fourth. Will Myers up here with a count of a ball and a strike. We'll make it 1-2, facing the knuckleball of R.A. Dickey. Dickey 9-11 on the year. He has one win in his last 7 starts, although he's pitched better than that recently, but coming out of that stretch with just 1 win.
How about this too, Dwayne? When you look at R.A. Dickey's year, last year, one time he had a start where he gave up at least 6 earned runs. This season, 7 of his 25 starts of 6+ earned runs.
And a foul tip strikeout right back into the mitt of Tolley. 2 gone. And what makes it frustrating for him, as we mentioned, he has just 1 win in his last 7 starts. And in that stretch, he's had only one of those games that you mentioned when he's been charged with 6 runs. So he's pitched pretty well in a stretch in which he's just not getting any wins. He won 2 starts ago out in Seattle. He pitched 7 2/3 in that one, gave up a run on 8 hits, and wound up winning that game 3-1. He did struggle early.
He's already given up as many extra base hits this year as he did all of last year, and that was in 233+ innings.
You know, part of the theory behind that, there was some discussion about his ability to throw the fastball a little bit more in the National League than in the American League. And when he did that here, he really got hurt. Plus, there's no pitcher in the lineup, as we know, in the American League. And he could, with the right timing, incorporate the fastball into his game a little bit more last year.
You see the way that he uses it now. Right there was one of those fastballs, but he throws it almost 30% of the time when he's behind in the count against righties. And in fact, if I remember correctly, the home run that Evan Longoria hit off him in Toronto was a first pitch fastball.
Yep.
Tried to sneak one by him and got hurt. And so that's kind of what you're talking about, where it's just that part of the game has not translated always into the American League. But still, that ball dancing around, extremely difficult to contend with.
Yeah, that's difficult in any league.
Yeah, right.
Full count now to Loney. And he walks it. First walk given up by Dickey in this game. 2-out pass to Loney. In the game tonight and all season long, Tires Plus donates $100 to the Pediatric Cancer Foundation for every Tampa Bay Rays home run televised on Sun Sports. It's Kelly Johnson. Strike the count. Johnson, formerly with this Toronto ball club for a time. Braves, Diamondbacks, Blue Jays, and now the Rays.
That knuckleball right there seemingly moved in 3 different directions. Kelly Johnson holding on as best as he can before pulling the trigger. And you can see in that swing and the dancing of that pitch the frustration these hitters face.
Yeah, you almost feel as if you're going to hurt yourself swinging at a pitch like that.
Start, stop, swing, tweak, pull.
Part of it goes one way, another part the other. Kelly's out on strikes. Knuckleball. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Dickey. 2 through 4, and we're tied 1-1. For the Just for Men mustache and beard play like a champ profile. How about this profile? Since the All-Star break, Will Myers leading the American League in hitting at .377, tied for first in runs batted in, second in slugging, second in on-base percentage. He's been hitting up a storm.
4 checks. He has been, he's been just top notch. A lot of multi-hit games.
Anthony Ghost swings and misses. That's a strike. Well, across the board now, He leads American League rookies in average, in runs batted in slugging percentage, and in on-base percentage.
A guy who came up middle of June.
There's a shot to center field, sending Fold back in front of the track. Now a step onto the warning track to make the catch. One away. Hellickson gave up a couple of hits to open the fourth, but threw a double play ball and then got a foul pop to end that threat. Leadoff man retired here in the fifth. And we go back to the top of the order now. Jose Reyes. Reyes, a couple of ground ball outs tonight. One ball, no strikes. That's in there at the knees. 1-1. The Yankees are jumping on the Red Sox tonight at Fenway. 7-0 in the top of the fourth inning in Boston. 2-1. Mark Reynolds, who just joined the Yankees, has homered, and so has Soriano again. Short center this time. Full coming in. He's going to have to stop and play it on one hop. And Reyes is aboard with a base hit.
Wow, that ball just off the end of the bat, and Sam Fold actually got a pretty good jump on that ball, racing in, but there was just not enough on it to get out to him. This ball, you see, just reach, flip. You see Sam immediately breaking in. Just couldn't get there.
Here's the second baseman, Mycera Stewart. Reyes, 12 steals on the year in 16 attempts. Blue Jays fourth in the league in steals. It's a strike to Stewart. One on, one out. One and one.
Well, this is the cat and mouse game that we were hoping to not see. Jose Reyes on. But what you'll see, Jeremy, the way that he combats the base runners, he's quick to home plate, number one, but he will vary his times. When he holds the ball, comes set on the mound, vary those times, and then he's quick to the plate.
Ground ball foul. Now 1-2.
And that's really, you know, if you're a right-handed pitcher, it's great if you have a good pickoff move. And what that is going to entail is extremely quick feet and short arm action, short, accurate arm action. I mean, that foot's got to clear the rubber. I mean, it's almost like a hop. Quick feet, hand to the ear, straight down. But if not, you hold the ball. You just vary your times. You don't let that base runner get comfortable.
Now it's 2-2.
Because what those good base stealers want to do against a right-handed pitcher is be able to time him up. If there's a count, guy comes set, 1,001, 1,002, deliver to the plate, and if they stay on that rhythm, then they'll time you up 1,001, and before 1,002, they'll get an early break, and they're gone.
Out of play. Still a 2-2 count. Kansas City has a 2-0 lead on Detroit in the top of the fifth. At Detroit, they played a makeup game earlier. Shields 4 innings into that game, pitching for Kansas City tonight. Royals have already beaten the Tigers once. Fly ball for Full. Sam makes the catch. Reyes will stay put at first. He went back to tag. In the makeup of the postponement, the Royals beat the Tigers 2-1. Duffy the winner, Verlander the loser. Holland picked up his 33rd save. 2-1 Kansas City over Detroit. They lead 2-0 in game 2 in the top of the 5th.
Kansas City not going anywhere, still determined to try to make some noise in the Central, try to climb over Cleveland, get into second place, and certainly try to make a run in the wild card. They are getting hot at the right time. They've dropped, well, 3 in a row coming into play today, but an impressive win today and looking good so far tonight.
Jose Bautista takes the pitch down. Here the Rays and the Blue Jays are tied 1-1. Blue Jays scored a run in the first when Adam Lynn singled home Mysir Stewart, and the Rays got a run in the third on the Escobar triple and an RBI single by Jose Lobaton. Two and 0. Ellickson touched for the run in the first. Blue Jays had a big threat in the 4th inning. And at first and second and nobody out. He got out of that one. Double play ball helped in that inning. Now a strike to Bautista. It's 2-1. Nice block by Lobaton on the curveball.
Boy, it really was. That was a very nice block by Lobaton, getting his body in front of it and smothering that ball to keep it right out in front, keep the speedy Reyes from being able to move into scoring position.
So Lobaton, who drove in the Rays' run in the 3rd, shining behind the plate with that play.
Well, that's still a play that Reyes, if his anticipation is up, almost got to be going anyway. You know that ball's going to be in the dirt.
And that curveball stayed in. It broke late. And Bautista walks.
Well, you remember in his first at-bat, he started with a fastball in the inner half, broke it away, and got that awkward swing by Bautista. This one hangs up, stays in.
Puts runners at first and second, and will get Edwin Encarnacion to the plate. Well, you think of Bautista and Encarnacion with those big swings, and then you look at their averages with men in scoring position. They're much better with men in scoring position than they are overall.
Well, rising to the occasion, clutch hitters, pitchers that are worried about base runners and leaving balls out over the plate.
And a line drive base hit over Escobar's head into left. Reyes heads to the plate. So does the throw. Not in time, and the Blue Jays take a 2-1 lead. Well, Encarnacion comes through for Toronto, driving in Reyes to make it 2-1. Bautista wound up at 3rd, and as the throw came through, Encarnacion down to 2nd.
Now Escobar, a game effort trying to get up for that ball, ends up a couple inches short. This ball did get out to Kelly Johnson quickly, but just too much speed by Reyes with 2 outs and running on contact. That's precisely the reason that you want to keep those kind of guys, specifically Reyes, off base, because they're just another factor out there, and these guys get better pitches to hit, and they take advantage.
Well, another big out to try to get here with men at 2nd and 3rd. Adam Lind is 2 for 2 tonight. And the curveball to start him is a strike call. Lind singled in the first run. Encarnacion with the RBI single in the 5th. Long one deep down the right field line. Is it fair or foul? That's a foul ball. Fortunately for the Rays, Lind hit that one at home run distance on it, but on the foul side of the pole.
Well, here's a great look at it coming down, and you can see staying on the foul side by a few feet. Long strike. Take
all it was.
That's you got to look at it if you're Jeremy Hellickson. Say, okay, now it's 0-2. Make a pitch here and get out of this inning.
And he does. Lind strikes out on the curveball. They limit the damage to 1. It's 2-1 Toronto. Race is going here, and different cast of characters with Nuke, Andy, and Crash. As we look at the AT&T social media poll, tweet your votes to @SunSportsRays. Who is your favorite character from the movie Bull Durham? TB1, Crash Davis. TB2, manager Joe Riggins. TB3, Nuke Lelouch. TB4, the bench coach, Larry Hockett. That's our AT&T social media poll. A little chicanery going on there with the bottle race.
Can't believe they took a shot at Will Myers like that.
First pitch to Escobar is a strike.
They tell Raymond to stay off the franchise.
Yeah, you don't want to be bumping that guy around.
No.
Chopped to third. Laurie across the diamond, and Escobar is the first out on the bottom of the 5th inning. One away here in the 5th. Haven't heard from Kelly for a while. Kelly, what are you up to?
Thanks, Dwayne. Well, David Price, who's in his 4th year adopting a couple recreation centers here in St. Petersburg, part of the Rays Dugout Club. Well, after visiting the first one, he sent out this tweet accompanied with a cute little photo. All my pals. Gladden Park was fun today. Got rocked around the gym, mainly by the girls. But here's where things get interesting. After visiting the next one, guys, he played a little dodgeball, pegged a girl on the ankle, and she refused to leave. She told him.
Assertive.
Yeah, hey. Watch yourself.
They were pretty serious in the competition department. Apparently so was she. Lobatone loops one into shallow center. Going to drop, base hit. Out of the reach of Astures. And so Jose Lobatone is 2 for 2. Nice to see him get a couple of hits in the game. He had that RBI single in the third.
Well, as Astures got a little bit turned around on this at the very last minute. He flips around, throws the glove up, hoping that ball finds its way in. It did not.
They just put the glove in proper position in case something good happens.
You know, when a guy throws a fastball at like 95 and a guy hits a rocket line shot and it knuckles, when a guy throws a knuckleball and you smoke it, does it just spin quickly? Like backwards?
Well, you hear about guys supplying their own power with a knuckleball. You got to supply your own spin.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think you can hit a knuckleball and make it knuckle. That'd be interesting to see on a super slow-mo cam.
It almost seems that some guys hit the ball so hard that they knock the spin off the ball.
They do. That does happen.
And then it knuckles.
Yeah. So can you knock a knuckleball even straighter? I mean, if it knuckles in with just slight rotation, can you just hit it perfectly still?
It just stays out there in a vacuum somewhere, waiting for a current to take it in one direction or another. You've just taken us to a whole different plane with that thought. See, that's a creative mind. Some kind of mind. I prefer to think of it as creative.
Oh, yeah. Man.
A little toasty there, aren't you? 1-2 to fold.
This had not a body experience right there, going.
No, your boots turned into Birkenstocks.
And I'm sitting cross-legged.
Just floating to the top of the bench. Ground ball second. Stirs Reyes and over to first. They complete the double play. 4-6-3. We're through 5. It's 2-1, man.
Walking into the brand spanking new 40-foot RV that Joe Madden bought. It is a Tiffin fight, and it is a Mac Daddy mobile. You've got, of course, the Rays game or the Bucks game against New England about to start right here. It's very luxurious. It sleeps about 6 comfortably. It's got 380 horsepowers. It's got 1.5 baths, including a master bedroom. You've got your microwave. You've got your stove right here when you pull these out. Little dishwasher action. He's got everything set up that he wants. A little table over here. And again, these have sliders, so they can slide out and be more luxurious. The master bedroom over here. 4 TVs total. 3 inside the RV. 1 on the outside. king-size master bed, and of course, guys, he's got the stainless steel refrigerator, and later on, it might be Miller time. Back to you.
Eventually, Todd would find the stash and opening the refrigerator.
Did you see what was on the shelf above it?
What was up there?
Popeyes.
Oh,
Popeyes.
Yeah.
Right? Oh,
I gotcha.
yeah.
I like it. This one is down.
Miller Lite,
1-1.
and hopefully that was the Popeyes, the spicy.
Yes, absolutely. Got to have
fried
spicy.
chicken.
Yeah.
I mean, off the charts.
Yep.
That was
You're
Matt
absolutely
Garza,
right.
That was Matt Garza's pregame meal. Every start that he made. Boy, did I love those days.
1-2 the count to Brett Laurie. Tolley next, and then Pilar. Down to third. Longoria throws out Laurie. It's a pretty good looking machine out there, huh?
Oh, wow. You know, I saw
Spring
that.
training, he's going to live there.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's an upgrade. It's an upgrade for him. I saw it on the walk-in, and immediately, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, that's Joe's. That's Joe's new toy, and it is absolutely fabulous looking.
How about that?
Not to be messed with. And I love the fact that he's going to find a spot and live in it all spring training. 2 months. He talked, Dwayne, he talked about selling us his previous.
The old one, yeah.
Yeah, selling us the old one for our little cross-country trip.
That's right. That's the one we start through the Gulf Coast, the Southeast.
Yeah.
Looking for tall cotton.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
That could be good. Looking forward to that. The old Caravan.
Hijinks everywhere.
Absolutely. All right. What do we got? 7-8 weeks. Postseason afterwards. Crank it up. Let's go. High shot back into right. Joyce will go to the corner and leap, and it's going to be over his head and bound back toward the bullpen. That's going to give Tolley a chance for 3. The ball picked up down near the bullpen as Tolley stops at third. He made a little round at third base and held on. A triple for Tolley. That's his first.
Tolley hits a towering shot here, and Joyce back, the leap, and it just gets over the glove and off the top of that padding. Right there, fence padding, and that propels it back towards the infield. There's nobody there, so Tolley could just keep running all the way into third base.
Not very often does a catcher come up with a triple, but that's the third triple of Tolley's major league career. Time granted by the plate umpire Gibson, requested by Lobaton. Kevin Pilar 0 for 2, the infield end. Pitch blocked by Lobaton.
You know, Jeremy Hellickson, not known to be a ground ball pitcher. He's more of an even kind of guy, but Joe Madden never shy about moving his defenders around. Everybody in at the cut. Trying to cut down this Blue Jay runner here at third base.
Blue Jays lead 2-1. Man at third, 1 out in the 6th. 2 balls, no strikes. Pilar just up from the minor leagues. He's hitting .299 in a little over 50 games at Buffalo. And he takes ball 3.
And you can see Jeremy Hellickson trying to work that ball down in the zone deliberately. And for a guy, I'll tell you, for a guy who's not a big ground ball guy, he does have, the one tonight, 14 ground and double play. So, you know, not that that applies to this situation, but it shows you his ability to get the ground ball when he needs it. He needs one here.
That's a strike, makes it 3-1.
Preferably at somebody.
Yeah, that's what the Rays are looking for here. Jim Hickey, the phone down to the bullpen. And the big chop. Escobar has it. Tole must remain at third. Pilar is out at first.
Well, there you go. Just continued to down, down, down. And finally, in a 3-1 count, he gets a meek little chopper there to Escobar. That is well done by Jeremy Hellickson. And now he can just go back to pitching, try to get Ghost, the number 9 hitter, and get out of this inning.
Ghost struck out on a changeup in the second inning, and then hit the ball to the warning track in center field in the 5th. Ball stayed wide, 1-0. Swings over. 1-1 strike. Jays scored a run in the first. The Rays scored a run in the 3rd inning to tie it. And then the Blue Jays scored the go-ahead run in the 5th. They threatened here in the 6th inning. This will be pitch number 100 of the night for Hellickson. And a bouncing ball going to hit through the middle into center for a base hit to get Tole home to make it 3-1.
And that was Anthony Ghost's first RBI this year. Finds a hole. And Jeremy knew it.
So the Rays are now down by 2. The 9th hit picked up by Toronto. Jose Reyes. The strike. Tole and Ghost have teamed up to tack on another run for the Blue Jays. Over to first, back in is Ghost. Got their run in the 3rd. Hellickson trying to get the top of the order. Reyes in the top half of the 6th. That'll be strike 2. Curveball's been a little more prevalent here tonight for Jeremy Hellickson.
Well, you figured coming in the way that this lineup is constructed, off speed going to be a big deal. Change up obviously, but you're right, the curveball more prominent role. Anything to try to take advantage of this team's aggressiveness.
Ghost is back in again. Fenway. Ball 2 strikes. Hellickson trying to keep the Blue Jays right where they are at 3 runs and give the Rays offense an opportunity to be productive. Tapper, that's a foul ball. Rolling behind Dwayne Murphy. Boston batting in the bottom of the 5th inning. It's 7-1 New York over Boston at Fenway. Andy Pettitte pitching for the Yankees. The other way, and that's foul, slicing out of play. Jamie Wright getting up in the Rays bullpen.
Just in case this inning is extended any further, we've seen Joe Madden just not afraid this time of year to go out and make a move in a hurry.
Ground ball, second base for Zobrist. Bends throw to first, retires the side, a run, 2 hits. We go to the bottom of the 6th, 3-1 Toronto.
Will Myers do up 4th this inning? You guys have talked about the comparisons of him and the character in Bull Durham. Nuke LaLoosh, there you see the guys in their jerseys that were worn in the movie. And here is Will Myers' thoughts of whether he looks or acts like Nuke.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I see resemblance and personality too.
You think they kind of have the same carefree?
Yeah. It's carefree. That's so Will Myers. This is the
whatever.
Chris Archer, Sam Full, those guys kind of agreed with you that he's got a lot of Nuke LaLoosh qualities, including the looks with the hair. In fact, Sam said maybe we should start calling him Meat. Guys.
He walked right into that comparison with the whatever.
Right.
Ball driven into center by Zobrist. Backing up is Anthony Gose, and he makes the grab, 1 away.
Yeah, that's 2 in 2 days. So you bring the comparison up to him, and he drops it whatever, and then dropped it again. But I love last night. when Todd was asking about the snake in the clubhouse, and he's like, yeah, no, it's stupid. And just drops it. I mean, no bones about it. What do you think about the snake? You weren't a big fan. No, it was stupid. And just next question.
Yeah.
In complete innocence and just unfiltered.
Yeah, that makes you look like new. Whatever.
Right.
And Joyce lifts the fly ball down the right field line. If that's fair, it's a foul ball, however. Bautista over there couldn't catch up to it, so that's a strike. The more you see him, the more that is him.
Yes.
That's just who Will Myers is.
Yeah.
It's great. There's nothing arrogant about that at all. That's just who he is.
No. Right.
He's a guy, he's a kid from North Carolina.
Playing baseball.
Yeah.
Loving to play baseball.
You can't help but like it.
No, absolutely love it. And you're right. Any perceived arrogance by anybody, you can tell. You can tell when a guy's just enjoying himself. And why wouldn't you? Getting called to the big leagues, having success, playing on a winning ball club, living the dream right now, baby.
Yeah, that's right.
Have some fun. And I'm telling you what, you start from spring training with these guys. And starting from about the first week of February until you hope the end of October, but even so, just say until October, just about every one of your days is accounted for. Mm-hmm. Long hours at the ballpark with the same group of guys day in and day out. If you can't come and have some fun and be loose, you are in the wrong business, and you are going to be a miserable human being.
Yep.
Oh, and by the way, your job is to play a game. Now, granted, at a high level with a lot of pressure and a lot of scrutiny, but you're still getting to play ball.
And a game that's more difficult to play than it appears to be.
Yeah.
Chop, that's a foul ball. But you're right about the day in and day out.
You spend more time with these guys than you do your own family. Mm-hmm. Between road trips and these guys, showing up to for a 7 o'clock game, you're getting to the ball club early afternoon, and you're here until way late. You're getting home 11, 11:30, midnight. The 6 months of the season, 3 of those months are spent all over the United States in hotel rooms. The 3 months here, you're playing just about every day. You're at the ballpark for tons of hours, not to mention spring training where, it's every day.
Yeah, so you make up your mind, well, let's have a good time.
That's right. You have to stay sane.
Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Action in the Rays bullpen. Jamie Wright continues to throw, and Jake McGee has joined him. Will Myers before the game.
Right up into the crowd. You guys want a ball? Here you go.
Full count to Matt Joyce. Yeah, he might have the right manager for all that too. Just so happens. 3-2, foul ball deep down the right side.
Now, Joe, he's one of the guys who get it as far as what these players go through, the hours that they put in, and the fact that the best atmosphere that you can create is an atmosphere that's loose, where these guys can come in, and have fun and play baseball. Now, you just can't let the inmates run the asylum, but these guys stay pretty disciplined in how they play the game.
Shot deep to right field. That's going to get out of here. 3-2 pitch. Joyce hits his 15th home run of the year. On the 11th pitch of that at bat, Joyce makes it a 1-run ball game.
He got a knuckleball that knuckled right down into the sweet spot. This ball starts middle, and watch it just kind of move down and in. Boom, right into the swing of Matt Joyce, and that was a bullet.
It's his 4th career hit off Dickey. 2 of them have been home runs. And the Rays are down 3-2 now. Evan Longoria hits one deep to center. Joyce will go back, approaching the track, and he makes the catch for out number 2. So Longoria made a bid on the first pitch. Hit that one deep to center.
I'll tell you what, in his last at bat, Will Myers hit a foul ball down the left field line into the stands on a pitch that was up. If he gets another one, I'm telling you right now, tie game.
Well, he's grounded out and struck out tonight. Joyce has hit one out, and a shot foul up the right side out of play. That reaches the upper deck, that foul ball.
Now between the lines, big boy.
That one disappeared on him.
Well, and that's the one that'll give him trouble. That's the one that he struck out on. The knuckleball down. That's the one you got to try to stay away from as best that you can, because that ball is just going to continue to track towards the dirt.
And strike 3 called. So Dickey strikes out Myers looking. Rays get a run on the home run by Matt Joyce. We're through 6, and the Rays are down by a run. Is brought to you by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. Visit your Honda dealer for great lease and finance deals on fuel-efficient Hondas. Rays close the gap to 1 on the home run by Matt Joyce. That's his first in 123 at-bats since he hit one against Kansas City on the 15th of June. Connecting tonight off the knuckleballer R.A. Dickey. As we go to the 7th inning, Jake McGee will take over on the mound.
Jake on for the 53rd time. He's got 45 2/3 innings logged, 56 strikeouts to go along with just 17 walks, and he will be put in charge here, filling in for Jeremy Hellickson, who 3 runs in 6 innings. Certainly a good enough outing, give the Rays a chance to win, which they still have. Jake McGee needs to hold the Blue Jays right here. Give the offense more opportunities.
Well, that home run that Joyce hit on June the 15th was off Jeremy Guthrie of Kansas City. The Rays eventually won that game 5-3. They trail 3-2 right now as McGee takes over. in the 7th inning. Pitch to Asturias. It's too low, a ball and no strikes. Ground ball headed up the middle. Asturias is on for the 3rd time. That's his 2nd hit.
Well, he just slapped that. That fastball offering by Jake McGee just slapped right up the middle by Asturias. Nothing special. Just go down and hit that ball hard. Find a hole.
Asturias was hit by a pitch and scored a run in the first. One of 3 runs given up by Hellickson in 6 innings. 9 hits, walked 1, hit a man, and had 3 strikeouts tonight. 106 pitches, 68 for strikes. And here's Jose Bautista. 0 for 2. He walked in the 5th inning. That's a ball. Jake McGee worked 1 inning Wednesday night against the Mariners. Gave up a hit and picked up a strikeout. And here against the Blue Jays tonight. Rays have been out hit 10-4. They trail 3-2. Bautista, mighty cut on the fastball. 1-1.
And you better expect that. He's going to do that anyway, but with a guy like Jake McGee, where, I mean, let's face it, 90-95% of his offerings are the fastball. You had better believe Jose Bautista is going to give you this just about every time.
Upstairs, 96 with the hard stuff. It's 2-1.
Imagine Jake McGee with a changeup.
Oh. It wouldn't be fair. It could be dangerous to a hitter.
You'd be right. There'd be guys going to the DL with a strained back.
Yep.
Oblique.
McGee's behind Bautista. 3 balls and a strike. That's a strike. Bautista on his way to first. Rick Gibson says that's in there, and a full count results. Right at the top of the strike zone. "3-2." Foul ball, straight back. That will be out of play. Six innings for Hellickson. McGee in his first inning. Foul ball. This time Asturias was off of the pitch.
I'll tell you what, this is about as power on power as you get. Bautista's swing, McGee's fastball doesn't have a lot of movement to it. Relatively straight, but maximum velocity, as you saw right there, 98. This is a classic matchup.
Two again. Foul straight back into the deck just above us. Again, that one at 98. So they've all been 96, 97, 98. And hard swings from Batista. Here we are, just climbing the ladder.
Will get me over on the first pitch.
Yeah, 95. Just getting warmed up. 3-2 again. Fly ball, center field. Sam Bull makes the catch. Back down to 96, so he changed speeds off the 98.
Got him out in front.
Yep.
A weak fly ball to center.
One out with a runner at first. Edwin Encarnacion about to step in. He has 2 hits in this game. Drove in a run with a base hit back in the 5th. .30 home runs, 90 runs batted in this year for Encarnacion. And he hits a towering pop-up. Zobrist to the right side now with that defensive shift on. He had to go far to his left and make that play in shallow right.
On the other side of every other at bat here by Encarnacion, it's been single and then threaten the roof here at Tropicana Field with some monstrous pop-ups.
Zobrist has handled both of them. 2 gone, and here's Adam Lind. 3 out of 9 with 5 strikeouts against Jake.
All or nothing.
Strike around the knees.
If he can do that 2 more times, it'll be 6.
Got some low heat at 98.
I mean, low riding right to the outside corner.
Is back in.
A Lobatone just about picked me off. This was really good on the. You see the tag attempt right here by Loney. The smart there by his tourist going to that back corner. But watch Lobatone. Looks over at first base at the very last minute, trying to deceive the runner, and just about got it.
And 2 strikes. That's something that we saw in that last series with Alberto Quintana. Quintero, he'll do that a lot.
When you've got that screen and you see a guy getting an aggressive secondary lead, you can physically make the throw. Why
not? Still a ball, 2 strikes.
You know, it's like anything else. And by the way, how many times are you going to get the guy on that throw? 1 out of 10, 1 out of 20. I mean, you're not going to get him very often. But what you do is you put it in his mind, and you put it in all those players' mind and the dugout. You better be maybe shorten that secondary lead just a little bit, or worst case, if you take a good one, you better be heading back really quick, and that will help limit, first to thirds.
Swing and a miss. Land out on strikes. So leadoff base hit. 1, 2, 3 after that. 7th inning stretch time. 3-2 Toronto.
for you while the Blue Jays are in town. You can get this little welcome mat here, courtesy of the Tampa Bay Times. It says Rays right on top there, obviously in the shape of home plate. And it's coming up if you go to RaysBaseball.com/tandems. You can pick up a ticket for this weekend against the Blue Jays and get this welcome mat. There you go, through Sunday. Let me test it out here. Yeah, shoes are good. So, look, it still looks brand new. Guys, back to you.
Quality tested by Todd Callis, the official seal of Callis.
I like the face that he was making. He was going to town on that thing.
Serious about it. James Loney taking the first pitch for a strike.
I want to watch him on an infomercial at 2 a.m.
One thing you get from Todd Callis is great effort all the time.
I mean, he really got into it.
That home plate mat, that's just about the right size for home plate. Check swing, bounding ball picked up by Laurie, and the throw's not going to be in time. Well, they had the defense around the other side looking for Loney to pull against Dickey, and he chopped it to the left side.
Well, a little excuse me swing. You see Laurie right here over there playing between short and third, closer to short, but this little excuse me swing, look how far he's got to go. And then bare hand across your body, just too much to ask.
Loney's aboard to open the bottom of the 7th with a potential tying run. It's Kelly Johnson. Takes the ball inside. Kelly looked at a knuckleball for strike 3 in the 2nd. Swung and missed at a knuckleball for strike 3 in the 4th. Loney back on the bag at first. Rays have action in their bullpen. Kelly Johnson ahead in the count. Takes ball 3. Joel Peralta up in the bullpen. Ball 4. So he walks this time. First 2 men on in the 7th. An infield hit and the walk. It's going to get Escobar. Escobar to the plate.
But you want to see Escobar take the approach that he took in his very first at bat. That was the lead off the 3rd inning where he really didn't take a big swing at all. Got a ball that was out over the plate. And he was able to shoot the gap with that one. Ended up being a triple into right center field, but did not take a big swing. And we're used to seeing Escobar take big swings. Really cut down on his swing, push the ball the other way.
Escobar's triple in the 3rd, his first of the year. Gets by Tolley. That's going to move both men into scoring position. Well, that's the other risk that's always there with a knuckleballer.
Well, and it just got extremely difficult for Dickey here. First and second, there's still a fighting chance, but this thing dancing all over and just gets away from Tolley. I mean, a quick drop at the end. Not able to get the glove to it. Now 2nd and 3rd and nobody out. Rays with a great opportunity here.
Wild pitch charge to Dickey, and there's a big chop to first. This will tie the game. Loney crossing the plate. It's 3-3. Encarnacion made the play unassisted, so the Rays get the tying run home. Escobar driving it home. And Kelly Johnson advances to third. He'll be there with 1 out.
Well, a great job by Escobar again. Right here. Look at him just let that ball get into the zone. He hits a little chopper, but with nobody out, it works out great. So they get it out. You score a run, and you tie it right there. He knows what happened. Kelly Johnson now to third with less than 2 outs. Race another opportunity. Very good opportunity. Infield's going to be pulled in now in this tie ball game to take the lead.
Jose Lobaton 2 for 2 with a run batted in. It's against the drawn-in infield. The first pitch is a strike.
Well, he hit in against the drawn-in infield his first at-bat. Was able to squirt one into center field. Flipped one in there in his last at-bat. That's all you need to do again. Nothing fancy. Just try to get something elevated.
And there it is up the right side, but it's going to be foul down toward the bullpen. But that was the general idea.
Yeah.
Pitch up.
Nice play there by Molina, too, with the backhand. And that's exactly right. That's all you want to do. You don't have to worry about swinging for authority. Nice, smooth swing. Easier said than done against this type of pitch, but you're just looking for something into the outfield. And Dickey right here going to try to come up with a nasty knuckleball, looking for the strikeout.
And a foul. So he stays alive.
Now, here's the thing. Now, does he come back hard with the hard knuckleball, or does he go back to the mid-60s, upper 60s knuckleball? Just tried to goose one right by Lobaton. He was able to foul it off at 79, but we've seen him drop that miles per hour by 10 or 12 coming right off of that.
And a foul ball. Pitch that wound up in. Tried to.
That was a heater.
Come in, yeah.
I think that was a heater.
Fastball in.
A little brushback pitch. Okay, now comes 67.
His fastballs anywhere from about 82 to 85, 86 maybe. Ground ball back to the hill. Dickey gloves and throws. 2 gone. Kelly Johnson still at third. Lobaton made contact, but a bouncer back to the mound. We'll get Sam Fold up here. Sam is struck out and is grounded into a double play. Sam strokes it into left. There's a base hit, and the Rays lead. Sam Fold on the very first pitch makes it a 4-3 ball game. He made it look easy, just punched it into left.
Now he got a pitch out over the plate that was up just a little bit, and you're right.
The Rays in with 2 to take a 4-3 lead. Sam back in at first. There's a threat to run over there. Rays with the lead. Bounces it foul. Rays got a run in the 6th on the Matt Joyce home run. 2 runs home in the 7th to take a 4-3 lead. Last count, Boston trailing in the bottom of the 7th, 7-1 to the Yankees. 1 ball, 1 strike. There goes full. Pitch is high, and the throw's going to be in time. He is out at second base. The Stewards put the tag on him. Rays come up with 2 through 7, 4-3 Tampa Bay. Rays with a couple runs in the bottom of the 7th inning, taking a 4-3 lead into the 8th. Sam Fuld with a base hit to give the Rays the lead. Joel Peralta, the new pitcher here to begin the 8th inning. Peralta, the third Rays pitcher. Brett Lawrie leads off the inning for the Blue Jays. Pitch wide.
Now the traditional setup here for the Rays, Peralta in the 8th. He's on for the 59th time. More than a strikeout an inning. How about that opponent average down here at 183? At least the one part of it.
One. Foul out of play. 1-2. Peralta picked up his second win of the year here Wednesday night when the Rays came back to beat Seattle 5-4. A base hit struck up the middle for Brett Lawrie. That's his second hit. 11 hits now for Toronto. Place your reservations for 2014 season tickets. Establish seniority today and be in line for priority upgrades and exclusive benefits, including the opportunity to purchase 2013 postseason ticket packages. Call 888-FAN-RAYS or visit RaysBaseball.com. A couple very good incentives right there on that package. Josh Tolle, the catcher, whose triple led to a run in the 6th inning. No ball for ball one. the second straight inning. Put a leadoff hitter on base. It's too high, 2-0.
Well, that was really a nice piece of hitting there by Laurie. That was a pitch that earlier in the season, his body would start towards that pitch and the hands would come with the body. And he would not be able to shoot that ball up the middle. That time he got a little bit out in front with the body, but he kept the hands back, and that's what gave him a chance.
Yeah, there were a lot of moving parts to his approach in the early part of this year.
Well, now you run the risk here of falling behind Tolley 3-0. You certainly don't want to hand him a free pass. He does have a triple in tonight's ball game, but has not been a guy that has been very efficient with the stick this year.
Three balls, no strikes. And he takes strike one. Back with another strike, and the count is full. Eighth inning. Peralta with a peek at Laurie off first. There he goes. 3-2 is high for ball four. So a single and a walk. Laurie breaking on that pitch on ball four to Tolley.
That's going to bring Jim Hickey to the mound. Quick conference here with Peralta. First two runners aboard.
Well, the Rays talking over on the mound. Pilar and Luis Rivera, the third base coach for the Blue Jays, confer as well.
Well, and you're going to get even Josh Tolley's coming in, pinch runner. Looks like Rajai Davis coming in to run. Now that right there will save any kind of signs or any kind of mix-up. You get an opportunity like that, you can go down and just talk to your third base coach. What are we doing here? Brett Laurie over there talking to Rivera. Make sure everybody's on the same page here if they choose to lay down a bunt. And the Rays out there setting their bunt defense at this time in case there is a square around.
Rajai Davis runs at first. Laurie's at second. Kevin Pilar will be the hitter with nobody out. Pilar promoted from the minor leagues when Kobe Rasmus went on the disabled list with a left oblique strain. Pilar showing the bunt, and the pitch is a strike.
Now, if that's not a pitch that you want to offer at, then you don't want to bunt.
Takes it outside. 1-1. It's Laurie at second. Davis first. And the bunt, first base side. Loney with the toss to first with Zobrist covering. Well, Laurie moves into third. Davis up to second. Pilar puts down the sacrifice bunt.
And well executed. James Loney having to come in, and that particular bunt, it was soft enough. He only had one play, and that was to go to Zobrist covering at first. A lot of times if you bunt You know, a first baseman like that will come charge, especially a left-handed first baseman, comes in charging hard. If the ball's bunted too hard, he can scoop, make a throw over to Longoria at third, and nail that lead runner. But that one, not the case.
Now Anthony Gose, who singled in a run in the 6th inning, he is 1 for 3. Fouls it out of play. So game situation here in the 8th inning with the Rays holding a 4-3 lead, but the Blue Jays have 2 men in scoring position and great speed at second base in Davis. Lowry third, Davis pinch running at second. 1 strike delivery. It's 1-1. Hellickson worked 6 innings, charged with 3 runs. McGee 1 scoreless inning, and now Peralta trying to pitch out of a situation. And a nice cover up by Lobaton. He's had a couple of those tonight.
He certainly has, and that's a part of his game, Dwayne. We've talked about it time and again, that has just continued to get better and better and better as the season has gone along. Understanding situations, the gravity of this one with a 1-run lead, and selling out that body to make a play.
Two balls and a strike. And a big cut, a foul ball. 2-2. Gose just 22 years old. Top outfield prospects, Pilar and Gose for the Blue Jays in the lineup tonight. 2-2. Bounce it back, a fastball. And we'll do it again on 2-2.
And Peralta really humped up there, 91, getting it up there for Joel. But you know what? You speed up Gose with that pitch, and then you come right back with that good split. Middle of the plate, down. It'll be extremely difficult if it's even remotely appears to be a strike out of the hand for Gose to hold up on it.
One more time upstairs. So a full count. Well, the Rays trying to stop the Blue Jays here in the 8th. The Red Sox have scored a couple in the bottom of the 7th. They trailed 7-3, but they have 2 men on with 2 outs, and Mike Carp is hitting. So they're trying to get back into that game with New York. Here, the 3-2 to Gose, and he got it. He struck him out. He did not have a good cut. He just got a little piece of it. So he stays alive, and boy, he was all but out. He just got a little bit of that one, and he's still in there at 3-2. Oh, that was close. I'm not sure he did hit it.
Listen, in real time, when they first threw that pitch, I don't think Gose thought that he got any of it. He was given a reprieve there by Gibson. This did not look like he was able to get to this ball at all. Down and away. Here is the split.
Yeah, my first inclination was to think that he did not.
And he started to head towards it. Gibson was so quick with his call. He gets another chance at it.
3-2. One hop to short. Runner trying to score. The throw just to the first base side. Skips in, and Lowry is safe at the plate to tie the game. So Gose gets another shot, hits a ground ball, and the Blue Jays tie the game.
Now the Blue Jays, they're aggressive. They're going on contact, and as soon as Gose makes contact, watch Lowry's secondary, boom, he's gone. Escobar is going to take a shot, but this throw a little bit wide and the bounce. Tie ball game.
It's 4-4. Still just one out now with men at first and second. And here's Jose Reyes, the top of the order. And a strike call. Goes reaching on a fielder's choice, getting the run home from third. Davis remaining at second base. Upstairs, 1-1. Peralta now has made 23 pitches in the 8th. Ground ball. Escobar steps on the bag, throws to first for the double play. They double up Reyes to retire the side, but the leadoff single turns into a run. We got to the bottom of the 8th. We're tied 4-4. John Gibbons will make some changes. Sergio Santos is the new pitcher, making his 11th appearance of the year. Here's a new battery mate. J. Pierre and Sebia takes over after Tolley was lifted for the runner. Rajat Davis, who ran, stays in to play left. And Ben Zobrist will lead off the bottom of the 8th and lines a base hit into right center field. Scooped by Bautista. A leadoff single in the 8th puts Zobrist aboard.
Well, Ben Zobrist understanding Santos. He's got a very big arm. Going to come in, first pitch strike, fastball, and it's to his liking. It's elevated and doesn't quite get to its spot. He can reach out there and handle this ball into right field for a base hit.
Matt Joyce, who homered in the 6th inning, capping an 11-pitch at bat. Way high from Santos. R.A. Dickey worked the front 7. Rays got 4 off him on 6 hits.
Well, he gives up the leadoff hit to Zobrist and then 2 fastballs that he's just overthrown.
Jay's going to get some action going in their bullpen. Santos here in relief of Dickey. Here in Loop, the lefty up. 7 innings for Dickey, 4 runs, 6 hits. He struck out 6 and walked a couple. 102 pitches for Dickey. Two 2-0 the count to Joyce. Hopper foul, headed for the stands, third base side. Santos been on the DL with right tricep strain. And he misses down and in. 3-1. Boston settled for 2 in the bottom of the 7th. New York hitting in the 8th, leading 7-3 at Fenway. And a swing and a foul ball. Count's going to be full.
See that big third at bat right there for Matt Joyce, where he saw 11 pitches, and that 11th ended up in the stands.
His first home run since June the 15th. Runner goes, a swing and a miss. The throw not in time. Stolen base for Zobrist. Ben's 10th steal of the year.
All right, so Matt Joyce just put down a sacrifice bunt. That's how you look at it. Nasty slider there by Santos to pick up the strikeout. But a good jump by Zobrist. A tough pitch to throw down to second base on by Aaron Seavey. Look at the jump. And now just no chance to get him unless he slides over the bag.
Well, Evan Longoria is the hitter, and they will not face him. An intentional walk coming with first base open after the steal. The Rays have Will Myers behind Longoria. Well, that was a good 1-2 punch in the game last night when Myers hit second and Longoria third behind him. And tonight the Rays are hoping to get a good 1-2 punch out of the 3 and 4 spots, with Longoria being walked here in front of Myers.
Well, we saw this happen earlier in the year at Yankee Stadium, and we all know how that turned out.
Yes, we do. So does CC Sabathia.
Yes, it was. And Will Myers going oppo for a grand slam.
Will 0 for 3 tonight. Couple of strikeouts, including looking in the 6th. He comes into this game averaging a run batted in every 4.89 at bats. It's a pretty good ratio.
This is his 4th time up tonight.
That's it.
Let's lower that ratio just a touch.
Ground ball toward the hold it short. Reyes goes to third for the force. The play in front of him. So Zobrist is forced. Reyes to Laurie. Into second, Longoria. Myers is aboard. And so the left-handed bat of James Loney is due up. That'll get Gibbons out of the dugout to make a pitching change. He's had Luke, the lefty, down there in the bullpen. So the Toronto Blue Jays make a Metro PCS call to the bullpen. He wants the left-hander Loop, against whom Loney is 0 for 2 in his career. 51st appearance for Loop.
But James Loney has done a tremendous job against lefties in general all season long. So do you really want this matchup?
He's been good against lefties. He's been good with men in scoring position. He's been good late in games. And the first pitch from Loop is a strike. About that, 327 against lefties.
Well, his ability to take tough lefties like this, keep that front shoulder buried, and shoot the ball to left field is wide.
Foul ball. 2. He had a base hit and a run scored in the 7th. About Luke's splits, he's been very good against lefties, and with that delivery you can see why.
Yeah.
Against most left-handed hitters.
Creates a very tough angle. Not only is he out there wide 3/4, but he works from the first base side of the rubber, so he's right on top of these left-handed hitters.
And that pitch, Loney checked in time. Alan Porter on the call down there at third base. And you talk about really accentuating that delivery. Luke did that time.
Yes, he did, and he almost shot this ball hooked right behind James Loney, able to hold up on the swing, but try to go away here now. That's what Loney, that's where he's done a great job of staying in and shooting the ball the other way.
And way away. Need a longer bat for that one. 2-2. Longoria is the runner at second. Myers at first. Time granted by the plate umpire Greg Gibson. Ground ball, right side. Nestorius up with it, and the throw to first will be in time. Loney grounds out. The Rays leave 2. We're going to go to the ninth, tied 4-4. Singled off Jeremy Hellickson, scoring Meister Stores. Rays got a triple from Escobar and a base hit from Jose Lobaton in the third to tie. But in the fifth inning, Edwin Encarnacion drove in the second run to make it 2-1. He scored another run in the sixth. Ghost singled home Tolley to make it 3-1. Rays got a run on a home run by Matt Joyce in the sixth inning. Grabbed the lead with 2 runs in the seventh. Ground ball by Escobar. And at the time, a go-ahead base hit. The run batted in for Sam Bold. I made it 4-3. But Anthony Ghost on a fielder's choice ground ball. Rory beat the play at the plate and tied the game at 4. And we're tied as we go to the ninth inning. Fernando Rodney becomes the fourth Rays pitcher.
Well, no save opportunity, so Rodney in here to hold this at a tie ball game. Hopefully his offense can come alive, win this game in the bottom of the ninth, on for the 51st time.
Here's Sturris. He's been on 3 times. He has 2 hits. Also hit by a pitch. 1 for 10 lifetime against Rodney. Strike the count. And strike 2. Bautista and Encarnacion following Asturias. It's a ball and 2 strikes. Foul ball back. Rodney spending parts of a couple seasons with the Angels. He and Asturias were teammates with the Los Angeles Angels. 2010 and 2011. Ground ball deep short. Great pickup by Escobar. Throw to first and a little bit high, and Asturias is aboard. A great stop by Escobar. Asturias can still run, and the throw just a bit high. Asturias has a base hit.
Well, that was because of the speed of Asturias. You'll watch right here, Escobar moving to his right, gets to it. Nice play, got to get up, spin inside, and rush the throw because of Asturias' speed. And it was just enough to get Loney off the bag. Not able to come down in time.
It's the 12th hit of the ball game for Toronto. Here's Jose Bautista. Outside. Ball, no strikes. He's tied with the Blue Jays in the ninth, 4-4. Yankees hitting in the ninth, leading Boston at Fenway 7-3. Lobaton getting time. Tigers batting in the bottom of the ninth, trailing Kansas City 3-0 after losing their makeup game earlier. Ground ball, and that's sharply hit past Escobar into left. Bautista's aboard. 2 men on with nobody out in the ninth inning.
Well, it was the speed of his Taurus that got the first hit. This was the speed of the ball off the bat that got this hit. Escobar just not able to get to it. Great effort, but just hit too sharply. And the first two aboard here for the Blue Jays.
Now it's Edwin Encarnacion. He has 2 hits and a run batted in. Line drive third. Longoria looked to second, but no chance to double up his Taurus. Encarnacion lines to third. That's a big out to get.
Huge. Well, this inning looks like it became a whole lot more manageable after that. First 2 aboard. Encarnacion dangerous. 2 hits already on the night. 1 pitch, 1 out.
Adam Lind will be the hitter. See, he's 1 for 10 with a strikeout and 3 walks when facing Fernando Rodney. And he goes after the first one, trying to start early. Strike 1. Starting early makes you prone not only to the changeup, but to pitches out of the zone. Ground ball right side. Loney down to second, out there. It'll be first and third. No place to go for Escobar after taking the force play. So Asturias goes to third, and Bautista's forced at second.
Yeah, and wise there by Yunel Escobar to not rush or really try to force that play and hit a moving target in Fernando Rodney. Loney gets to this ball, is going to flip it to Escobar. Now he's got to go back. He's got his closer over there, Fernando, trying to cover first base, and wisely he holds on to that baseball. Doesn't force the issue.
Brett Lawrie 2 for 4 tonight, 1 for 4 lifetime against Fernando Rodney. Lawrie has been a hot hitter since the All-Star break. And Rodney's pitch is 98, a strike call. Well, Rodney in a position to get out of this inning after the first 2 men reached, but he's going to have to get a hot hitter to do it. Ahead of him 0-2. That one at 97. Asturias at third. Lind at first. 2 outs. 2 strikes the count to Brett Lawrie. Here we go. And a foul ball back. He pumped it in there at 98. Lawrie got a piece of it, hanging in.
Fernando Rodney, so much of the back and forth between the fastball and the changeup. Here he's coming right after Lawrie with the heater. Does he eventually go to that changeup?
The 0-2. Missed with the fastball. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 98, 97, 98, 97. Down and in.
Wow.
And how about that for Lobaton? He saved that one.
Yes, he did. Watch his changeup just take off. Now he's got to go down. Doesn't have a whole lot of time to do it. That was outstanding. That's a run right there. That is a run. What a play.
2 balls, 2 strikes. It's fouled back. Another fastball. I'll tell you, Lobaton has been so good tonight. It's about the 3rd or 4th save he's made back there.
And that one obviously being the biggest. That was outside of the scope of his body.
Yep.
It wasn't like he just dropped down, straight down and smothered it. That ball was running down and away from him, and he had to glove scoop it like a hockey goalie.
And a chopper towards short. Escobar steps on the bag, and the Rays get out of that spot. First 2 men on, 2 men left for Toronto in the 9th. Bottom of the 9th coming. Johnson to lead it off. We're tied 4-4.
Up at 4, and don't forget to join us tomorrow at 6:30 for Rays Live, the pregame show driven by our Gulf Coast Honda dealers. We'll have a sweet little feature on Matt Joyce, who made a visit to Tampa General, and of course J.A. Happ returns to the mound for Toronto. Remember, he suffered that skull fracture when he was hit off the bat of Desmond Jennings. And of course, later tonight, guys, join us for the postgame show right after the final out. I'll be in the dugout gathering interviews. Dwayne B.A., you guys always bring us a special breakdown, and of course Todd and Orestes steering the ship.
Sean Rodriguez will pinch hit to open the bottom of the 9th. Takes a rip and misses the first pitch off speed. Strike 1. The Rays facing Aaron Luke. We got the final out in the 8th inning. He opens the 9th with Rodriguez. Up here, Escobar due next, and then Lobaton. Rockies beat Baltimore tonight. 0-2 the count on Rodriguez. Yankees trying to add to their lead in Boston with a couple men on and 1 out in the 9th, leading 7-3. One and 2, and Kansas City beat Detroit twice. They win 2. Rodriguez out on strikes. Luke kept the changeup away from him.
Oh, just tantalizing with that changeup. Talk about that angle, lefty on lefty. How about the angle here? And then just lay it out there, flat, 82 miles an hour. And Rodriguez unable to hold up.
Chanel Escobar tripled and scored in the third. Got a run home with a ground ball in the seventh inning. Luke misses away. Ball, no strikes. Takes it again. 2 balls and no strikes. Escobar 0 for 3 against this lefty in his career. Came in hitting .300 since the All-Star game. Took a big cut there at the changeup. 2-1. Dickey for 7. Santos for 2/3. Luke got the final out in the 8th. All 4 of the runs for the Rays off R.A. Dickey. Ground ball, foul in front of George Hendrick. Jeremy Hellickson started for the Rays, gave up 6, or worked 6, gave up 3. McGee 1 scoreless inning, and then Peralta gave up a run in the 1 inning he worked. Rodney worked the 9th. 2-2 now. Fouled again. We are tied 4-4 in the bottom of the 9th. It's Wesley Wright working in the Rays bullpen. Still 2-2 to the Rays shortstop. Quite a battle going here. Luke does not walk a lot of hitters, so we've got a battle here with a 2-2 count. Number of pitches fouled away.
It's always important for a guy that's going to come in late in the game to avoid those unnecessary base runners.
There's ball 3 inside. Something extra on that one for Luke.
His last 2. You got that little crossfire action from that arm angle that we've talked about and obviously shown. 94 miles an hour to go along with that 82-mile-an-hour change.
And he comes back with the change, and Escobar checked. He was getting out of there in a hurry, not waiting for Jerry Lane to even rule, as Lane eventually did. Says he held up, but that was ball 4. And a very good at bat right there by Escobar.
And we've seen him do that before too. If it's going to be even borderline, he gets rid of the evidence, flips that bat. He did not go on that. Good hold up on the change. And there's one of those unnecessary base runners. Let's see if the Rays can turn it into the game winner.
Well, Jose Lobaton saved a run in the top of the 9th with that stop on the pitch from Rodney. He drove in a run with a base hit in the 3rd. And he shoots it up the right field line. That ball is fair, will roll into the corner. Escobar hitting 3rd. Foley will wave him around. And Lobaton wins it for the Rays. 5-4 the final. Rays landing a walk-off. What a night for Jose Lobaton behind the plate and at the plate. And he drives in the winning run. This is our Miller moment. It's Miller time. A triple into the right field corner for Jose Lobaton. Chases home Escobar. Just as we promised early in the game, Miller time brought to you by Miller Lite. Now the Rays win the first game of the series to go 3-1 on the homestand so far.
I'll tell you what, Dwayne, how about this? How about the fact that the Rays win this ball game? Story up in Boston. Not many times you would say a team that potentially one game back is actually in a better position.
And the Yankees have added to their lead. That game in Boston, it's now 8-3 there in the top of the ninth. The Rays win it, courtesy of Jose Lobaton. Todd Callis standing by with Lobaton right now.
Dwayne, thanks. How about that last at bat, Jose, after a walk? Tell us about that, AB. You look pretty aggressive right out of the gates. The guy who scored the winning run gets the guy who knocked in the winning run. That was your buddy, huh?
Yeah. Well,
he was on base. Take us through what your approach was. You'd seen Loop a few times before. Even on a righty, he could be a tough lefty, huh?
Yeah, I was on deck and I was like looking something away. I've been working a lot, try to go the other way, and then well, I tried and I did it.
We're seeing the replay right now. We're going to get Lobaton a towel here so he can rejoin our broadcast. There you see Lobaton on the ball on the right side, and he knew at that point you kept going to third just in case. There's nobody left. It's all good now. So Lobaton, can you show what you just got to the fans? Can you hold that up?
Ice cream. I didn't hit a homer, but I think I deserve it.
You got 2 ice creams.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I like it, but I'm going to eat it.
You love ice cream.
I love it.
Jose, talk to us about winning the game kind of 2 different times. You won it on the base hit down the right field line. I thought you also won it in the top half of the inning when that changeup that Rodney threw. He throws so hard to have that changeup diving away. You've really been working hard on blocking pitches, haven't you?
Yeah, I try to. That's what I'm doing there. I try to help the pitchers every time, and with that pitch, I was ready to block, and then he threw that one pretty bad, and I tried to block, and I catch, and I told Esky after the game, after that inning, I say, after I blocked that ball, I was so nervous, like I don't know how I catch that ball, that reaction, but I thank God that I did it, and thank God that we won the game.
Are you feeling, as this season's gone along, defensively, more and more confident? It seems like you have just grown in leaps and bounds.
It's been tough. It's been bad moment, good moment. I just try to work every day, try to be the same, and try to do my best in the field. Thank God that I've been doing better and better, and hopefully I can keep helping the team to make the playoffs.
When you saw that ball rattle around on the double, did you think you had the game winner?
No. I hit the ball, and I said, well, at least I got the guys are going to move to third, and then I saw Foley sending the guy home. I was like, well, I did it. It's my first time, and now I'm going to enjoy it.
I know there was one moment there in the 8th inning when they tied the game. Looked like you had struck out Ghost. Was it kind of a clicking sound? Maybe did a ball hit the plate that might have fooled the umpire? What did you see on that play?
I'm not sure. They asked me too about that, and then I try to block the ball, and then I miss it. When I missed the ball, I thought he hit it. I hear something, and then the Peralta asked me. I say, well, I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure, but I thought he hit something because if I'm gonna catch it. Well, we got the win.
Yes, you did.
Yeah,
Congratulations. Go enjoy the ice cream.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys, back to you.
Yeah, he'll enjoy the ice cream and enjoy the moment even more. It's a 5-4 final as the Rays take game one of this 3-game series from the Toronto Blue Jays. We'll be right back.